Salve Latin 2 students. Thanks for coming in today to check on exercise A. I know there's a couple tricky ones in here, so I want to go over it in detail with you so you start to understand some of the stuff you've worked on this chapter. Now make sure you've already done exercise A, and then each time I go over one, look over yours, see how you did, see if you missed something. And if there's still something you don't quite get or understand at the end of the exercise, then please come in and see me in my office hour or send me a message about it and we can help you get to the bottom of it, okay? I'm going to go over each one from the assignment yesterday, starting with number 1 here. So number 1 is more girls. So this one is an adjective we learned this chapter, which is pluralis plura. Now girls is feminine, so I had to use the feminine nominal plural ending. That's why it's pluralis puellae, okay? This is a third declension adjective, and this of course is a first declension noun. That's why the endings are a little bit different, but they do agree with each other. So pluralis puellae is more girls. Now number 2 sounds almost the same, but it is different. And number 2 is more wine. So they put these together because they want you to see the difference. The difference here is in the first one, girls is plural, wine is singular. That seems like a small difference, but they're two different words. The singular, you want to use the noun plus, and plus is followed by the partitive genitive. So notice how for more wine, I said plus vini. Literally, I'd say more of wine in Latin. Whereas number 1, this word's an adjective, so it does not take a genitive after it. It simply agrees with the word that it's modifying, which is girls here. So 1 and 2 are actually very different in Latin. Singular is plus, plural is pluris, the adjective pluris. So that's how you do number 2, and that's a partitive genitive right there. Very similar to when we had the word nihil in a previous chapter, and it was always followed by genitive. The noun plus is also followed by genitive. Okay, so 1 and 2 kind of go together. Excuse me, number 3 is the oldest soldier. Now, the word this chapter from old is senex, and if you do the comparative, it's senior. But when you get to the superlative, there is no superlative. It lacks a superlative, it's defective, but there is an idiom that means oldest, and that is maximus natu. So here I did a miles, maximus natu, literally greatest by birth, but that's an idiom meaning oldest, okay? So miles maximus natu, and they all agree. I put it in the masculine here because it's modifying something masculine, which is soldier. That's kind of an idiom. Now, it's not in the homework. Remember the other idiom from this chapter is mayor natu, which means greater by birth, or in other words, older. Okay, how'd you guys do on number 4, to the top of the house? Now, this one's not too bad, but there is one tricky part, and that's that you hear, the top of is a new word from this chapter, sumus, but you hear the top of, and you assume this word must be genitive house, but it's not, because sumus means the top of. The of is included within its meaning. So here, top of, sumus, needs to be the same case as the word it's modifying, which is house. Now, what case is house? Well, it's following odd, so it's going to be accusative. So I did odd summum velam. This is not genitive, this is accusative, going with the preposition here. Another word for house we've learned this here is domum. So you could have done odd summum domum. Luckily, both of these words are feminine, so it would be summum either way, okay? So if an adjective already has of within its meaning, like top of or something, it does not require the genitive. It's inappropriate. Same thing with number 5, in the middle of the camp. This one, you have the word of there. Maybe you're thinking genitive, but no, it's actually medius, means the middle of, so it's going to agree with camp. What case is camp? Well, in the camp. That's an ablative place where. So I'm going to make an ablative. Now, the last thing is, did you remember that this word camp is only neuter plural? Ever since we learned it, it's a neuter plural word. So here's what I came up with. In mediis castris. This is ablative, but it also has to be plural. This word is only ever found in the plural. Okay, so 4 and 5 a little close. Number 6 is actually kind of similar. From the bottom of the river. Same thing here. This word imus means bottom of, so you don't need to make river genitive. They both need to be the case that goes with from, which is ablative. So here's what I came up with. Ab imo flumine. Ablative here, flumine, imo flumine. By the way, another word that means basically infimus is another form of imus. They both mean the bottom of or the lowest. And so I could use either one here. I made them both ablative, neuter singular, agreeing with river. Okay. Also, there's a few more words for of. Maybe you use de or ex. I would have allowed those two on this particular question. Okay. So that's number 6. Number 7 is near the town. This one I came up with two different ways to do it, and I'll show you both of them. This one could have either been proximus oppido. Now, what's going on with that is that proximus means near, it's an adjective, and it's one of the adjectives that takes that dative, which is what we learned last chapter. So I put oppido in the dative, proximus oppido. That would be an adjective. So proximus is like, she is near the town. That would be an adjective. You would use proximus. But there's also the preposition that means near, which is from this chapter, which is prope. Now that's going to be used a little differently, but it still means near. So if you might say the boys are playing near the town, that's not really an adjective, but it's kind of telling you where the sentence is taking place. So that would be a prepositional phrase. Now this prope preposition takes accusative, so that's why it's prope oppidum. So the word near can be, used two different ways, whether it's an adjective or a preposition. It's actually the same in English. Near can be a preposition or an adjective depending on how it's used, so it's very similar. So that one you might have had either one of those. With context, you could pick out exactly which one is most correct. And number 8 is nearer to the town. This one you have to use the comparative of propinquus. Okay. I just realized, did you guys realize I have a little something incorrect here? This word proximus is actually the superlative that means nearest or next to. I should have used the adjective propinquus there, propinquus oppido, which also takes the dative. Maybe you caught that as I was talking. If so, kudos to you. But this word right here should be proximus oppido. Okay, this part is still correct. Now the next one is the comparative of nearer. So the comparative of propinquus is propior. Propior oppido. Propior is also one of those adjectives we learned last chapter that takes the dative. And so that's why oppido is dative, nearer to the town. Now the superlative of propior is the next one, next to the town. This is the word proximus. So I did proximus oppido, and proximus again, it's an adjective that takes the dative. So that's why oppido is going in the dative here. This would be an adjective, so the building is next to the town. I would modify it here. I made this masculine because we don't know what the subject is, but of course if this were modifying something feminine, you would use a feminine ending for the adjective there. Okay. So they're giving you some that are kind of similar so you can see the differences between them. And the last one I got, this one's at the end of the island. This one you had to use the word for the end of, which is extremus, but island, of course, is feminine. So I did in extrema insula. And again, the genitive isn't required here because this word extremus means the end of, and so what's required is the ablative, which always follows in. So in extrema insula, all ablative of place where. Okay. Again, this chapter, lots of vocab, lots of little things like that to kind of come up to speed on. So you need to be hitting your vocab nice and early. This is a big vocab chapter and less of a grammar chapter to learn the ins and outs of grammar. So definitely hit your vocab early. Make sure you've internalized that and how to use it really, really early, okay? We're going to be doing some more practice on it this week, and then eventually next week we will take our quiz. We have a lot more practice time before the quiz at the end of next week, okay? Thank you guys for going over your homework very carefully, and it's okay if you missed a few things. That's bound to happen on these. Just make sure you're checking it over, and if anything doesn't make sense even after checking over my video, then make sure to come in and check in my office hours, and I can help you go over these, okay? Hope you guys are doing very well today, and I'll see you tomorrow for our next assignment. Walete.